bastante emocionante que todo esto esté empezando a pasar acá y, bueno, ser parte de esto. Entonces yo le voy a hablar de HADeS y cómo llegamos a desarrollar esta empresa que está en construcción. Y el título de la charla es A Reagent-Free Timely Detection Scan for Healthy Aging. So I may switch to English because I know there are some people here that will prefer it, but we can mix it. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit about the past. So a long time ago in our galaxy, two genius minds invented the calorimeter. And we are talking about the first biophysics machine invented ever, 250 years ago by Lavoisier and Laplace. It looked like these boxes with several layers where you have to put something on the interior and ice, and 2 layers of ice on the near surrounding of it. And what they were up to with this machine. So 250 years ago, no electricity and so on, they were conducting an experiment to understand what keeps us warm, our heat. That's simple. And as we are in a DeSci day, let's talk about a small experiment here because I think we are lacking of this thing. So just materials of metals for an experiment, you need materials and metals, of course. Sample A, it's carbon, and then you have a little rod on sample B, plus a little bit of ice, balance, and a good winter. So the weather conditions at that time were important for conducting this experiment. You need 2 days at least continuously, with the temperature continuously under 0 degrees. And if that doesn't work, you need to wait for the following year. So imagine the scenario. And the results were that the same amount of CO2 produced by sample A and sample B melted almost the same amount of ice, 296 grams. And they concluded that, well, respiration is therefore a combustion. So we are burning things. And indeed, a combustion that occurs very slow, but otherwise perfectly similar to that of the carbon. And it takes place inside the lungs. And the heat developed in these combustions communicates itself with the blood that passes through the lungs, and from there spreads throughout the entire animal system. So a guy, a philosopher that was contemporary to those Lavoisier and Laplace, also said at the time, everything has been thought before at that time. But the problem is to think of it again. So I really like this tense, and I truly believe it. So let's see what happened afterwards. So 200 years later, we also do calorimetry nowadays in the lab. So it's called a differential scanning calorimeter, and we measure the heat that is component on materials. And in particular, we can actually measure that heat coming from the proteins. So proteins are three-dimensional entities, okay, that are the following of amino acids, and they get structures, okay, that according to the sequence will have different shapes and forms. And those shapes and forms are stabilized by hydrogen bonds, interactions, ionic strengths, and so on. And if you destroy it in a calorimeter, you will be able to measure the heat that characterizes them. So this is classic thermodynamics, a way to address the heat of how that fold and how the stability of the protein is made. And this is a particular characteristic of any of the different proteins that you can imagine, okay? So you can measure the heat released, and you see that you will have these bell-shaped curves with the maximum is the temperature where you are, all the molecules have folded and have unfolded. And from that, you obtain thermodynamical parameters that are related to the enthalpic processes, delta Cp, and so on. So I've been working with calorimeter for several years, and with matters regarding protein folding, structure, binding, and thermodynamics. And one day, in between that journey, I was doing a postdoc in Paris, I heard about a novel use of this machine, of this calorimeter. And at that time, I was very inspired for shaping my own future and decide what to do with my life, okay? And what they were doing, they were using the DeSci of blood serum. So they were measuring the heat releases and containing from all the components of the blood. Serum. You know, serum is the liquid part of the blood. So if you quickly centrifuge it, you get this yellow liquid here, okay? And you have there more than 100 different proteins, okay? But with only 10 proteins, you can represent the 90% of the total mass. So it's very complex biofluid. It's a very complex biofluid that connects all the organs of our body constantly. But the amount of proteins that compose it in the majority are really simple, okay? Mostly albumin. And what happens if you put that thing into a calorimeter? Well, you see the individual contribution of the measured proteins that are mixed on your serum and how they unfold, okay? So on the calorimeter, we unfold the proteins and we measure when we break those interactions that are forming the three-dimensional entity, and you characterize their thermal stability like directly. But when you have a mixture, you get this sort of thermograms, okay? So the contribution of albumin, the immunoglobulins, and the other majority of the proteins that are in the serum. And the shocking result was that if you measure the serum of a person that is normal, that is healthy, okay, regardless of sex, age, origin, and so on, you will get the same thermogram. So what you're getting there is a profile, okay, that tells you that you don't have any disease, and that the equilibrium of all the different proteins that are traveling in your serum and connecting all your organs are in a good homeostasis, in a good proportion, and so on. But if you have a disease, you have changes, and drastic changes, and you can see that the thermogram will vary. And it has been shown that this is specific to to at least 24 diseases for the moment, okay? So these are experiments that started in 2008, and for the moment we get with this the identification or these patterns that are associated to different diseases, and 10 different types of cancers, 4 different types of neurological diseases, pregnant diseases, related diseases, some autoimmune diseases over there. Okay, we have cardiac disease and infectious disease as well. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you is that when all this information happened and I learned about that, at that time, so I decided to buy a calorimeter with my own money. And so I entered into eBay and I saw that there was an auction. Okay, so I started playing, and at the end of the night, I just put 1 cent more with the guy that was competing with me, and in the morning, I realized that I got a calorimeter for my own. And this is me at home, in the living room in Paris, and my son entering the machine at home. And then I did a sort of tour de France in order to build a calorimeter functional and calibrated at the Pasteur Institute. So this is a true 1 cent story, and nowadays, I am a PI, a director of the Virus Biophysics Research Laboratory here in Bodegas Giol. This is Palermo, if you can recognize the Polo Tecnológico. And this is the calorimeter doing things at that place, and my son has grown up a little bit. So we are expanding the diseases that can be seen. So in the calorimeter, we are studying healthy elderly, Alzheimer's disease, dengue, 1, 2, 3, and 4 serotypes, so all the 4 serotypes, chikungunya, various patients, and among other different diseases with several collaborations. And all these results and all this energy conducted to the formation of HADeS. And the thing of HADeS is just to use a technology like calorimeter that had 250 years ago, is very robust at this. And it can monitor diseases that doesn't present symptoms, and it can prevent and anticipate that something is happening in your body. This metaphor of the tree that falls where no one hears and it makes no sounds, but the tree still fell. And the symptoms of diseases related to aging often appear too late. Okay? And once you diagnose them, well, they can be very difficult to cure. And so the solution is preventive medicine, is detecting this invisible disease early and guide people to have a healthy aging. Okay? And calorimeter gives you this power, a unified, efficient, and accessible manner for multiple conditions. You only need 20 microliters of serum, and that's it. Okay? 1 hour of scan, and of course, an analysis that will tell you whether you are on a situation or the other. So, HADeS does this. It's very simple. It just scans your blood proteome for real-time health insights. And what we are monitoring is this energy that is comprised on the different majority of the proteins that you have on the serum, and that is as simple as that. And when you have a metabolite that is affecting one of those, you will see that change and get the result of that. And so we are here as well because we like DeSci for many reasons. And HADeS is based as a DeSci initiative, will be built with tokenomics. And the idea of tokenomics is to have our token that will give the beta testers the opportunity to interact with us and make the company grow. Okay? And this equity token will make this a very community and collaboratory effect, and that we think that is the moment to do so. And because we like the community stuff, the open access, open data, open code of what is happening in the DeSci community and DeSci situation. For example, the data that we are publishing for Alzheimer and healthy elderly, it's open. You can go and see the data of different thermograms, of course, keeping the confidentiality of all the persons involved. The preprint is also online, and we participate on funding like NFT minted funding to get the community involved with our project, and so on. So this is who we are. We are 4 friends, actually, together with Juan, Alfredo, and Augusto. 3 of us are PhDs with a lot of experience in biotechnology and protein research, especially on the thermodynamics of proteins and structure. And one of us is a specialist on the crypto world. And so this is what we want to build. And you can visit our white paper and get involved with us whenever you want. So I think I'm early on time, so you can ask questions or I will finish here.
A question for Mariano. ¿Alguien tiene una pregunta para hacerle a Mariano?
Hola.
Hola.
Thank you for the presentation. It was wonderful to actually meet you. I actually saw you on Artisan First and I voted for you. So I'm
cool.
very hyped to actually see the project here in person. So I'm a lawyer, so I have a very lawyery question.
Yeah.
In terms of go to market and then how would your product look like? So I understand about tokenomics, I do crypto as well, but what is your ultimate end goal for your project? Or maybe not the end goal, but 5 years from now, where are you?
So the roadmap where we are, it's on the preceding stage. And the utopic city that we see is to get machines to the street and the people just go, get in, get the scan every month, twice a year, and so on, and with no prescription and so on, okay? So that's the utopic. And in 5 years, what we want to do is grow and get just bigger than in the place that we are. I think that we are I see that in 5 years we are going to be very consolidated, but I hope. and yeah, I think it's a question of exponential growth from this stage to 5 years. I see it very far away, 5 years. So we think in 1 year, or most 2, no more than 3. I cannot imagine 5 at this stage of my life. But the utopical view of the company is actually to give access to people and do preventive medicine on demand. Okay? And what we see is that people have issues to take blood sample, and you can just Uberize all the system and just bring a physician to take the blood to your home, you know, with the breakfast, and then come back to the company and then give you the PDF with the report, and this connected with other application of the company, just monitor how you're doing, okay? And as simple as that, we want to say, just if you are not good, we will guide you just to see what is happening on your system and so on. But the work with us ends up there. And then you just free all the healthcare system on that way, because somehow you decrease the demand on people trying to see whether if they're good or not good condition. And the diagnosis system is very scarce. And it's a tight system, and the specialized diagnosis, like several diseases that I mentioned here, it's not a democratized system nowadays, okay? So one solution to that, when everything is packed to get access to a good diagnosis, okay, is do the preventive medicine and guide whether you really need it or not, okay? And I don't know if in 5 years we are going to be there, but at least a small scale. And the concept of smart cities that are small experiments, and this is something that could be tried there. Yeah.
We have another question for you.
Sure.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions, actually, if that's okay, if we have a little bit of time.
We are good with time.
Very vitally attractive, I would say. My first question is, do you run operations currently? Like, do you sell it already? And do you sell it like directly to people? Do you like sell it through clinics or other intermediaries?
So we are on the beta testing period, so we can test people like as a beta testers, but it's not open to the community yet, okay? And we are running. And the idea is that we are eating data for our deep learning AI interpretation software, okay, in order to ameliorate the output and so on. So we are configuring all the output of our products on this stage, you know, and getting our data set bigger and bigger, and see where this can take us.
Gotcha.
So for the moment, the machine is running, and it's working. So it's the thing is working, but we are not on the market yet. Okay, that's
Got it.
yeah.
My other question is, so you have done it, right, with some patients. What happens, or maybe this is a question for the future once you like launch it to the public per se, but what happens when a patient does get diagnosed with a disease, or does get a disease identified from their blood? Like, would you look to provide any solutions directly to them, or would you like refer them to other providers that could help them with their specific disease?
Well, that's a great question, actually. So we want to work with the healthy people, at least. No, but so at the stage of the technology, to date we just could identify 24 different diseases, and we are expanding that, okay? So what we can do with this technology is tell you that your healthiness is good, but if you are unhealthy, it's complicated to actually say what do you have or guide you through that. Of course, there are categories of diseases, and this output will guide us together with other information, what kind of diagnosis, specialized diagnosis you should do if you are getting your serum on the red part of the scan. And the thing is, this is very quick. In 1 hour, you will know how you are now. Okay? This is not a prognostic of what your genomics tells you that you could have this disease because of this mutation that may never happen. This is real time, real things happening in you, in your body. So the universe of diseases is quite vast, and so we will never have the quality to say, okay, you have this or the other, but we can guide you. Maybe you need a specialized diagnosis there. So that's how we see now, today, the company. Okay, so just give you a green or red flag.
Gotcha.
And guide the red flags or send them elsewhere. So we want to work with the green guys.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's
Great, thank you. Check out Vitalia.
sure.
Bueno, ahora sí, un fuerte aplauso para Mariano.
Gracias, gracias.
Muchas gracias.